G'day folks, my name is Rob and welcome back for another F1 Fantasy video. In today's video, we're going to have another guest on my channel as part of my guest interview series for F1 Fantasy 2025. I will be joined by none other than Rein of Rein Fantasy fame, who is a fellow F1 Fantasy content creator and YouTuber. Rein and I will talk about all the good stuff around chip strategy, the upcoming shift in the template lineup, and just about everything else related to F1 and F1 Fantasy. It's actually been some time in the making after Rein and I connected at the Australian Grand Prix. We talked about this and I'm glad I get to repay the favor after he had me on his channel earlier this year. So as always, guys, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, you like the F1 fantasy topics we discussed today, please show some love to the channel, drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. But I won't hold you up any longer. There's lots to get through in this video. So I'll leave you to it and I'll see you very shortly. G'day folks, my name is Rob and welcome back for another video on my YouTube channel. Today is a little different than normal for my F1 Fantasy ramblings. I'm joined here today with Rein of Rein Fantasy fame. I'm sure you recognize Rein as one of the staples in the F1 Fantasy community. Rein, great to have you on and good to see you again.
It's great to finally have this chat. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming because I know when we caught up in Australia, we talked about it. You've obviously kind of since the start of the year gone from strength to strength with your channel, live streams, videos, all that good stuff. So it's been a bit of a journey. You too.
The season's been crazy. A lot of things have happened, and we're halfway through now. It feels like we started just yesterday, but it also feels like it's been going on for a year already. So. Yeah, excited to see what the second half of the season has in store for us.
No, agreed. I think it's been a pretty exciting 2025 so far. Lots of unexpected results, and I know we've got a lot to talk about in F1 Fantasy. But before we do, I thought I'd kind of get your take on F1 so far in terms of drivers, teams. I think kind of the biggest news kind of coming out of the last week or so has been Christian Horner, who was let go by Red Bull. And I think, after Max has been such a dominant force in Formula One for the last few seasons, I haven't really talked about it in any of my videos yet. So this is kind of the first time to broach the subject. What's your read on that? And what does that mean for Max as well?
I think it's super, super interesting, the fact that this is all happening now. I mean, if you started watching F1 after the F1 movie, which I know a lot of people did, I've seen on social media, you've had a hell of a first 2 weeks of being a fan of the sport. I saw some stats saying like Kimi Antonelli, the day Horner got the sack was the first day of Kimi Antonelli's life that Horner was not team principal of Red Bull. In terms of what it means for Red Bull, I think they're a team in shambles. I mean, we've been talking about them losing all this talent over the course of the last, essentially bleeding talent to different teams, with obviously Newey going to Martin being the big one, and now Horner's gone too. Obviously, you can have your opinions on who he is, but undoubtedly he's been probably the most successful team principal in the sport's history.
Yeah. If
you actually look at like what he accomplished during his time at Red Bull. So I think Red Bull will definitely struggle to keep this up, and I think they're a team on the decline, and they're probably going to continue falling in 2026. Yeah,
I have to agree. I think it's kind of been a slow decline over the last few years for Red Bull. I think kind of 2023 was their peak, and it's just seems to have gone the other way. Even though Max has obviously papered over so many of the cracks, it's been inevitable, I think, for some time. And lots of rumors as well with Verstappen too. He's connected with Mercedes, all that stuff around him and Toto meeting up in Sardinia, and that possible open seat if George isn't renewed for next year. Is Mercedes the likely landing point? Does he stay at Red Bull? Does he go somewhere else?
I think he goes to Mercedes now. I think I don't know if Horner's sacking was a way to try and keep Max there, or was it as a result of Max telling them that he wants to leave. Obviously, he seems to have some sort of clause in his contract that if they're under a certain point in the championship, that he's allowed to leave on a free, and that seemed to be the case now. So maybe that was the result, and that ultimately ended up in Horner's sacking. In terms of Russell, I think Russell's been done pretty dirty, but I mean, it's Max Verstappen. You got to get Max Verstappen in the team when you can, and with how much Toto's been building up Antonelli, there's no way they're letting him go to another team. So my prediction actually for 2026 right now is that Russell just goes straight to Red Bull because they need someone of quality, someone with leadership, and I don't think people have been talking about Norris potentially going there, but I don't think Norris is leaving McLaren anytime soon. No. So I think George goes to Red Bull just because they need someone that has proven quality that they can build a car around. Because right now, who are they going to do that with? Sure, Hadjar looks good, but he's a rookie. Lawson did not perform. Tsunoda's not performing. They need someone who they know will perform that they can build a car around. So my prediction right now is Russell to Red Bull. I could also see Russell going to something like a Cadillac if they offer him a long-term deal to race either alongside Perez or Bottas. It looks like Perez might be getting announced pretty soon. So
yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I'm kind of the same camp. Like all of the stars seem to be pointing towards Max to Mercedes, and I'd be very surprised if it didn't happen at this point. You know, I think with the Verstappens and Marco pushing Horner out the door with the backing of the owners, it's I just don't know if that's going to be like a determining factor for Verstappen to stay. So I also agree probably to Mercedes. George is an interesting one. I just don't see him in a Red Bull seat. I agree with all of your points entirely that they need an experienced race winner to kind of take that team forward. I'm inclined to think a little more left field, and I'm not saying Cadillac makes the most sense for George Russell just because I think they're going to be back at the pack next year. But I could honestly see him ending up, you know, at an Audi. I know that seems quite left field, or an Aston Martin. I know both of those teams have, you know, driver lineups scheduled for next year. But, you know, if Alonso potentially isn't willing to run it back, or Stroll gets shafted to WEC, you know, Bortoleto, I think he's been promising. Does Audi kind of rip it up after 1 year with a rookie for someone who can win races? Maybe. And then obviously Alpine has the Mercedes power unit next year. I don't think Russell goes there, but I think
no one wants to go to Alpine, let's be honest.
No, not at all. But I do think, you know, there are other teams that I'm sure his management are ringing around to. So he's got options, just nothing quite like a Mercedes or a Red Bull. Yeah.
I mean, I could see Max Verstappen to Mercedes happening in 2027 because Max is very much in a position of he could wait and see which team is the best and then go to that team. So sure, everyone's bigging up Mercedes, but what if it turns out they aren't the fastest? Literally any team. I mean, I think even, especially in 2027, if Hamilton's out of contract with Ferrari, like if say Ferrari came up with the fastest car, I think literally any team would want Max on their side, and Max could go to any team in 2027. So he could also wait it out and see if he's willing to chill with Red Bull for another year.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. I just also, though, think to your point earlier, like Red Bull, I don't see them being a top 4 team next year. I think their own powertrain, like they've invested a lot of money in it, but they don't have the personnel there to kind of take the car forward. They're potentially losing Verstappen, and without him, I genuinely see this team as a bottom 3, bottom 4 team next year. So even if you maybe Russell, if he's in the seat, then perhaps it's a different story. But if you take him out of the picture and it's 2 of Tsunoda, Hadjar, Lindblad, Lawson, like that is not a lineup that I feel strongly can compete. But anyway, that's
not at all.
Yeah. In speaking of kind of, you know, you mentioned Mercedes being very competitive next year. Speaking of fast cars this year, McLaren, I think the race between Piastri and Norris has been an exciting one recently. I thought Piastri really had the upper hand earlier in the season, but Lando's turned the tide even with that DNF in Canada. He's now got 2 in a row. Where do you see the second half of the year going? Because I think it could go either way, but I definitely think the narrative shifts just depending on the momentum it's with every week. Oh,
100%. And while I was earlier in the season saying like Piastri looks strong, this is going to be his year, the recent performances, even with the crash that they had in Canada, I'm now on Norris. I think Norris is the most disrespected driver on the grid. And I think he can take it. I've also seen... granted, I'm the one with the Piastri hoodie, by the way, that's hanging somewhere over there. Basically, recent 2 races, I believe, or 3 races, Norris has had a suspension that Piastri has not had because Piastri doesn't like it. But apparently it is better. It's just that it's more to do Norris's driving style rather than Piastri's. And Piastri has said he does not want to switch, and McLaren are trying to get him to switch over to it. So I think that McLaren car is still tailored more, or the development of the McLaren car is still being tailored towards Norris, because at the start of the season it was expected that Norris would be the guy to lead McLaren to the Drivers' Championship. So if you kind of see the fruits of those labors from earlier in the season falling in now, if McLaren, and when McLaren come with further upgrades, because I do believe they're coming with more upgrades, at least after the summer break, if they're geared more towards Norris, I could definitely see Norris going on a run from here on out and taking it in the end.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you there. I think Oscar has far exceeded expectations beyond
sure.
what anyone would have kind of anticipated, certainly at this point of his career, let alone this point of the season. And I still think it's going to be close between them each week. I do suspect there will be times where, like we saw in Canada, that one of the drivers is well outside of the points, or they have a shocker. And, I think kind of Lando's probably been the more inconsistent one on balance, but has still managed to kind of stay within touching distance the entire time. It's not, I think the thing that's gone against Oscar has just been, recently at least, he's been right there. But, you look at that 10-second penalty in Silverstone, for instance, that could have been a guaranteed race win for him. And then I guess McLaren, in Canada, when Lando was well out of the running, McLaren just weren't that strong of a car on that day. And so, there are opportunities that go begging, whereas Lando just kind of hangs around, doesn't go away, if that makes sense, even if people seem to write him off.
I also think that in terms of Lando versus Piastri, I think Piastri is the more overall consistent in terms of his performances. Where, sure, you said Lando is always there, but I think the point where Lando struggles compared to Piastri is that in those key moments, Lando tends to underperform, and I think people have been talking about his mentality, right? Maybe it's a mentality issue there, and he misses out on some Q3 performances, qualifying lower, or in certain overtaking. When Piastri needs to overtake Verstappen, Piastri gets it done, whereas when Norris needs to overtake Verstappen, it takes 3, 4, 5 extra laps, and by that point Piastri's gotten too far ahead for Lando to do it. So I think it's those key moments that Piastri is just better than Lando, whereas like on pure pace in the car in clean air, Norris has outperformed Piastri this entire year.
No, I agree, and I think that's kind of what sets Piastri up for, I think, a very successful career in Formula One. Whether he wins the championship this year is one question, but I'd be very surprised if he doesn't win at least a couple over the next kind of 5 to 10 years, depending on if McLaren continue to deliver the car they've got this year. So now I think we will move into something that's more attuned to most people watching the video, F1 Fantasy, which, exactly, charted territory, we might call it. And, for those of you, I'm sure many of you already watch Rein's content. He's quite a prominent figure in the F1 Fantasy world. Now, Rein, before we jump into kind of high-level chip strategy, transfer planning, the upcoming shift in the meta lineups, kind of talk me through your season so far, because I know we've been not too far apart throughout the season. We've been
very, very even.
The year, actually. and I think most of the content creators are kind of in the same boat. We're all within about 100 points of one another. So that's
definitely. It's apart from PPM's 1 second team that's like 12th in the row. Yeah. Everyone is very, very close to each other. Yes. But I actually hit my all-time F1 fantasy peak after Silverstone. I've never been this high before in the global rankings. So my current rank, thank you, is 3,125, if I believe.
Mate, well done.
And my previous peak was not last year, but the year before that, before my shocker in Kota. I mean, you had one as well. It was like 4,000 something. So this is a new. This is uncharted territory for me as well. I'm joining the top, and considering where I was at the start of the year, I mean, you and me discussed that. In Melbourne after the race, we both had, but I definitely had a stinking start to the season, and the fact that I've climbed this high up already after just half the season is mental. I've had a really good season.
I think a lot of people have really made a great recovery since Australia, and I mean, I look at it as like a tale of two races to start the year off. You either got absolutely screwed in Australia or if you didn't get screwed, you got screwed with the Ferrari disqualification in China, which is what happened
I
to
mean,
me. And so
you took both, kind of.
I kind of did. But
you copped the one little bit of the first one and then the rest.
Yeah.
And I actually do think one of the reasons why my season's been so good, you know, I guess it's a highlight actually, because I was on Ferrari going into China. Because my Australia was so bad, I aggressively wildcarded the second week. Got out of that and then climbed from there. And I think looking at our two ranks right now, I think that's the difference between us two.
Yeah, it's not much.
Literally, the difference is that Ferrari DNF or disqualification.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yep.
So yeah, look, I think like that recovery, I think goes to show that for anyone playing first time or fifth time or 10th time, like it's never too late to make a charge. And I think there's still 10, 12 races left in the season, so lots of ground to still
races,
make up. Yeah, there's a lot. So your chip strategy, before we get into kind of upcoming chip strategy, because there's a lot to dissect with a sprint race in Belgium, how's your plan been so far with deploying those chips? Have you found it's been relatively successful so far?
I've played 3 ships so far this season. I played my wildcard, my limitless, and my no negative, and I would argue that I've played all of them at almost optimal times so far, and I've played them the way that I wanted to play them at the start of the season. So I had a strategy for at least these 3 chips, and I've gone into it, you know, playing with, you know, sticking with what I said at the start of the season, and it's worked really well. Using the wild card when the team was bad, it's very personal when you use the wild card, and the team was awful for both budget and points after that first race in Melbourne. So I had to just switch it up, and it worked really well. And I, you know, got the ball rolling again. I used the Limitless in Monaco. Super optimal week to use it. The top 5 was the clear top 5, and it was a really good single race week. And I went into the season, seeing as I used it in a suboptimal way last year, thinking I'm going to use it in a single race weekend this year. I wasn't entirely sure if that was, you know, Monaco or Imola or whatever. I ended up using it in Monaco, and it worked really well. And then the no negative, I am like the biggest advocate for no negatives should never be used in a single race weekend, no matter how rainy it is. Granted, you know, no negative in Australia would have been really good for me, but I used the no negative in rainy Miami, a rainy sprint weekend. That's when you use it, because the no negatives, the biggest thing that hurt you in F1 Fantasy are the DNFs, the minus 20s. That is what kills your weekend. That's what kills your season. And when there's 2 races, you have twice the likelihood of getting hit by a random one. So I think it should always be used in a risky. I think Brazil is going to be a really good place to use it if you haven't used it yet.
Yep.
But I used it in Miami because it's the first time it ever rained for the Miami Grand Prix, so we didn't know what to expect. And I think I raced like three DNFs that weekend total. So, I mean, it was a great chip use.
Yeah, I was exactly the same, and I can't remember if you were streaming that weekend, but I definitely was. And I remember watching Leclerc pull up, or not even pull up. He crashed on the formation lap of the sprint, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that was kind of, or not even the formation lap, wasn't it? On the way to the grid when he was having the car set up, and I just remember on stream with 20 minutes to go, absolutely losing my mind, and everyone
did,
kind of collectively doing so, and that was what tipped me over the edge, and it paid off because again I had 3 DNFs that weekend.
Yep.
And to your point, it was one such time where that extra session really did make a huge difference for fantasy teams.
I mean, so to your point, I've been live every deadline so far apart from Australia this year, because Australia was obviously at the track. But yeah, every deadline so far.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you need someone to listen to for the deadline stream, Rain's your man. I've been a bit slack because I've been traveling and such lately, but I will be back for Belgium most likely. Actually, no, I think Belgium.
Here we go.
Here we go, like live on the air. I think Belgium, the sprint race in New York it starts at like 6 o'clock, which would mean I have to wake up at 4 o'clock for a deadline stream.
Yes, you would.
So, we will see. But
I mean, I did that for China, so
you did. But you're built different. So anyway,
these hours, yep.
Yeah. So anyway, chip strategy I think has been imperative this season. If you've got it right, you've really done well. Now, talking about kind of upcoming chip strategy, because we got another sprint race in Belgium this weekend.
Yep.
Unrelated to chip strategy, maybe related somewhat, is the McLaren Mini League, and some people have been using certain chips on their teams 2 and 3.
For sure.
But regardless of that, And if you have a team 2 or 3, then you should be using a chip on every single race weekend if you want to win the mini league. But for people that are not in these mini leagues, they're just focusing on, say, their team 1. They've got a Limitless handy. The chip can be deployed on sprint race weekends. It can be deployed, as we saw effectively in Monaco, on a non-sprint race weekend. We've got
Saudi
Hungary
was really good as well, yeah.
and Saudi, Japan as well. We've got Hungary coming up, a low overtake track.
Yep.
If people are weighing up kind of a 3X, Limitless, kind of what's your take on if you had to choose right now? I feel like it's up in the air.
I think the Limitless is really difficult right now because genuine question, do you put Hulkenberg in your team? Like, genuine question, on a Limitless, are you willing to go without Nico Hulkenberg when he's overtaking 14 cars per race, gaining 10 positions, no matter where he qualifies, on a track where you can overtake in Spa for a sprint weekend? I would not dare use my Limitless for Spa. Almost, I mean, obviously, if something crazy happens in sprint qualifying and you have like Piastri starting 20th, Piastri, or like everything is wrong. Obviously, then it's a different story. But I wouldn't dare use it on a regular sunny Spa just because these B tier drivers, Hulkenberg, but also like Behrman, Ocon, Alonso, all of these cheap drivers are doing so many overtakes from the back now that are you gonna bring in George Russell getting 20 points, starting 5th, finishing 5th? That's just not exciting at all. And I think in Hungary it's a very different story because in Hungary there are no overtakes. I mean, almost none. I was there in 2023 and there were like 10 total. So
that's the thing, though. You look at Monaco as such a good yardstick for the Limitless chip. No overtakes. The delta, even with a DNF, the delta is still like 70 to 90 points on a non-Limitless team. And, yes, Hulkenberg can qualify at the back in Hungary, but he's not going to get anywhere close to the number of passes on track as he might do in Belgium. So I'm inclined to... If I had the Limitless still to use, I'm probably erring towards Hungary right now. But I wouldn't fault people for wanting to go down Belgium if, like you say, we see a Leclerc or a Piastri or a Norris kind of out in SQ1, SQ2. Yeah.
I mean, I 100% agree. It's always difficult to sit here and say something because sprint qualifying is just you can watch it and then make your decision. Again, I don't know why that's the case, but you can watch sprint qualifying and then make a decision for the sprint race. The deadline is after the sprint qualifying. You can look at that and see what happens and then make your decision. So that's obviously a big... I mean, that's going to make all the difference, right? But in general, I would say avoid using the Limitless in Spa. And I think Hungary is probably like the last good place to use it because after that we're going to get into some territory where people's budgets are too big that it's you're kind of losing delta a bit. I think Hungary is probably your last chance because after that the 4A or the 2-2 lineup or whatever is gonna start becoming popular and then that diminishes the value of the Limitless.
Exactly right. Now you read my mind. Maybe it was because you were reading off the prompts I sent to you over the weekend, but that segues nicely into the 4A kind of meta lineup that's on the doorstep now and in the coming races. And before we kind of talk about how you plan to attack it, Rein, we've also seen recently the triple McLaren and Kick or Aston Martin builds come into play the last couple of weekends, particularly with how Hulkenberg's driving. Some people, myself included, are still on Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari with a lot of strong midfield drivers. And then some people now have the budget or in the next couple of weeks to get to the double McLaren, double Mercedes lineup with George Russell. Yep. How do you plan to tackle this? Is there a particular jumping off point or jumping on point to the 4A lineup? Do you think there's viability in waiting longer or moving sooner? Just how the budget building approach is at the moment?
I think there's a lot of value in waiting, honestly. If you had asked me a month ago, I wouldn't have said the same thing. But the fact that we've had like 2 or 3 B-tier drivers scoring 20 plus points in the last like 3-4 races has really shifted my mentality towards that. Granted, Kimi Antonelli, you can't really look into it because he's had 3 DNFs in the last 4 and then a podium, which was his first ever podium. So his points are all over the place. You have no idea what you're actually getting with him. But looking at what he kind of scored before that, if we're talking like the Antonelli version of the double, he scores 20 points maybe. And then you're looking at, Ocon scoring 50, and Behrman scoring 20, Alonso scoring 25, Hulkenberg is scoring 45 for fun. I think
options.
There's options, and I would much rather sit with a Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari team with whichever B tier assets that I want for the week that look good, rather than sitting on, stuck with Colapinto or, whoever is in that seat. Come Hungary. So I think the fact that Mercedes has kind of fallen down to third best with the Ferrari upgrades, making the Ferrari easier to drive. I mean, Ferrari have been clearly the second best team over the past three, and the fact that we can't afford McLaren plus Ferrari with two premium drivers. Kimi Antonelli, you don't know what you get with him, and then again Russell, sure he's scoring points, but like compared to again Behrman, Gasly scored 15 last race. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And I think I still look at, I don't think Belgium is the right time for the 4A at all, just with how the midfield budget drivers are stacking up at the moment for gaining. I see maybe not Hungary, but potentially Zandvoort as that kind of first shift, because again, Zandvoort's not a high overtake track. We saw it had 200 overtakes in the wet 2 years ago, but that's not going to happen unless it rains again. No. And assuming Antonelli or Russell are just kind of keeping it on track, we might find that delta. Like, yes, I agree. Hulkenberg, Alonso, the Haas drivers, they're scoring 10 to 15, 20 points at the moment on a pretty regular basis. I don't see that happening to the same level at Hungary and at Zandvoort.
No, it has to stop at some point.
Yeah.
Enough's enough.
Yeah, no, agree. I think they're overperforming for sure. I think that's great for everyone that's on them. But I think we'll see maybe a few move for the 4A in Hungary. I think a lot of people will be looking at Zandvoort. Once Hulkenberg, he kind of comes back to earth a little bit. Alonso will probably cap out at a certain price where he has high thresholds to reach. So I'm thinking 2 or 3 races down the line, just continue to focus on budget. And if you can, like, stretch the Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari, Russell, like that could be the target lineup in 3-5 races time.
For sure. And I also think, I mean, the target has realistically always been McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Russell, right? That has been the target for some time. And like the talk of Kimi Antonelli being like a jump off point in between, I think, sure. But right now with Kimi Antonelli, even when he returns to scoring regularly and not DNFing or getting a podium, but getting that P5, P6 finish where we saw him at the first third of the year, I honestly think that it's better to stick with the premium B tiers. And another one is going to join the leagues. I think Carlos Sainz, of the 2 more races, when another DNF is gone for him. Like at this price point, right? Because in any given week he can score the same as Albon did, and Albon at the start of the season was averaging between 10 and 15 points per race.
Yeah,
if you give
exactly.
that kind of point scoring from Sainz, that's
at
not
like
that's not a driver.
6 million. Yeah,
that's not a driver that you can really afford to stretch to if you're on like Russell kind of lineups. But I do think like if you can reach McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Russell, I do think that's going to be really strong in Hungary and probably beyond. It's just right now, I think it's better to sit and wait. And I mean, to your point earlier, I do think that McLaren kick, the triple McLaren kick build, has been going a bit under the radar. It's been really powerful if you've had the right drivers for it. For example, this weekend I had a fantastic week because I did not have Bortoleto on my team. So I had McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Ocon, Alonso, right? Probably the best best of the meta teams, right?
Yeah.
That scored 283 points. If you had triple McLaren, even with Norris as the 2x, because I do think that if you have Norris and Piastri, you should put the 2x on Norris just to be differential. And Norris, Piastri outscored Norris by 1 point. But again, if you had McLaren, Norris, Piastri, Kick, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Alonso. So again, the same team that I had, just but with triple McLaren. Norris kick for Ferrari and Ocon. You got 288, so you outscored me by 5 points. Wow. So I think that build could be really strong, especially in Spa where there's still overtakes for Hulkenberg. And granted, in the triple McLaren kick build, you have Bortoleto's DNF in the kick asset, right? So you're already getting 1 DNF. Obviously, if you had triple McLaren triple kick, which a lot of people did have as well, obviously it wasn't as strong. Yeah. But for the 3x use in Spa, I think it could be really good.
And I think 3x is definitely best used on a sprint race weekend. So if you want to be differential, like I'm saving my 3x for probably one of the last couple of sprint races on the calendar, but realistically, if you want to be differential while Kick is in form, those upgrades seem to be firing for them, then I think Belgium could be great if it's a dry race.
That's my current plan, actually. It's 3x.
Okay.
So switch to it in Spa.
Wow. Aston Martin or Kick?
Kick.
Or Haas? Kick. Okay.
I can't afford the Haas. I don't think I could afford Aston, but obviously the Aston versus Kick would depend on sprint qualifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
There
you have it. There you have it, folks. An exclusive early transfer plan for Rein. If you haven't already watched his video for this week, I sure have. But it's going to be interesting. I think lots of decisions to make heading into the sprint race weekend in Spa. Now, speaking of decisions and answers, a staple of this channel since the start of the year has been the F1 Fantasy Fast 5. We've had Tom and Ewan. I think I'm forgetting. No, I think it's just Tom and Ewan in terms of F1 Fantasy content creators, and I do have a couple more lined up later in the year as well. But thought I'd get Rein on to sit through exactly that. So as always is the case, if you want to play along, just pause the video once the question's answered, because obviously you'll hear the answer as soon as Rein gives it. And strap in. It'll be 5 questions, and I'm sure, Rein, you've done your homework, but both. Well, Tom and Rein Tom and Ewan have both scored 3 out of 5. So
okay, 3 out of 5. So they're difficult questions then, because those guys know their stuff.
Oh well, look, I won't say what, but you answered actually one of the questions earlier in the video.
Interesting. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. So anyway, we'll get cracking, and let us know.
All tabs are closed, by the way. Apart from the recording.
I believe you. I believe you. It's all good. All right. Question number 1.
Yep.
Who is the lowest scoring driver in F1 Fantasy as at the time of recording? Sorry, and just to clarify, it's active drivers, not
active driver. Yeah. I'm gonna guess Colapinto.
The answer is Liam Lawson. Colapinto has -2 points, and Liam Lawson with Racing Bulls has -8 points. So
that's a tricky question. That's really, really close.
And it's a tough one. So Liam
Lawson's been in the Racing Bulls way longer.
Well,
than Colapinto's been in the
Yeah, that's true. 3 DNFs since Japan, so that's not helped at all.
No.
All right.
He's had a couple good performances.
He has.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. On to question 2. Among active drivers in their current teams, and this is for drivers in the top 4 teams, just so I'm clear, only one driver averages equal to or greater than 1 position lost per race. Can you name that driver from the top 4 teams that has lost equal to or more than 1 position per race, from where they start on the grid to where they finish on the grid?
So from the top 4 teams, one driver is averaging a 1 lost position per race. Does this include DNFs? Disqualifications? No, this is just a stat in F1 Fantasy, so like positions lost in F1 Fantasy.
Yeah. So, I guess you want to think about the good qualifiers. And
my guess would be Charles Leclerc.
The answer is Max Verstappen.
Is it Max?
Yeah, because he's lost -1 position per race this year. Russell and Piastri have lost between -0.5 and -0.2 positions per race. I think Charles has actually gained positions. I don't have the tab open.
That seems crazy to me. What world are we living in?
Leclerc has actually gained 0.2 positions per race. So
wow, I mean that's my fault for disrespecting what's it called? Ferrari.
Yeah, the hard thing is that like Max has qualified on pole, so often compared to
a couple of times. Yeah, but I mean he's also won and been on the podium.
Yeah. I guess you got to look at Spain, where he fell to 10th, and then more recently in Silverstone, where he also spun out. That's hurt his average. So couple of tough ones, but
that's a tricky question.
But I think it gets slightly easier from here. So we'll continue on and make through. This one I think will be easy because I won't give too much away, but I think this one should be relatively straightforward.
Okay.
Recently, in the last 4 races, an F1 Fantasy asset set the all-time record for the best points per million score in a single race weekend. Can you name the asset? And I think, just as a hint, you want to think about the price relative to production. So,
the price relative to production. I mean, it has to be Hulkenberg, or is it not?
Because
you look disappointed. Is it?
Oh, I'm not giving anything away, because I say asset, like it could be a driver or a constructor. Right?
Oh no. Okay, a constructor. Okay. Yeah. I was just thinking driver.
Yeah. Driver or constructor.
Driver or constructor. Then it must be the Kick Sauber, because the Kick Saubers are 4.5 million. Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. So Sauber.
Spain, right?
Yep, that's it, on the money. So Sauber had 9.2 points per million in Spain. So 52 points at 5.7 at the time. So they.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I sort of logic my way into it.
You're right though. So Hulk also set. Hulk also set the record for driver PPM for 6.2 in Silverstone.
That is what I was thinking.
Yeah. So you're on the money. In fact, Sauber and Hulkenberg are on generational fantasy runs at the moment. But so
I'll take
off the mark. Yeah, nice one. Okay. Question number 4.
Yes.
Based on the F1 Fantasy Content Creator League, which creator among all teams that has been entered ranks the highest in the world after Silverstone?
Well, it would be PPM2. That is Palm Patman's second team. Is it 12th still? I know it was 12th off before Silverstone.
You got the answer right. It is Tom. Pop Pan Man F1, his second team. That is currently ranked 20th in the world.
It's 20th now. Red Arrow of Silverstone is going down.
Probably had Bortoletto, but Tom is Tom's also been on the channel, so he he's another one who's completed this fantasy quiz. So a nice recovery drive so far, Rein. After spinning off,
I'm doing a Hulkenberg.
Yeah, after spinning off, you're certainly on track for a points finish if you can come away with the third and final question. So I do love a bit of elite data, because we can get lost in the information there.
My favorite page.
Among the
some would believe it's the budgets builder, but
right up there, right up there as well. Among the global top 500 as it stands at the time of recording post Silverstone, we've seen the likes of Limitless and Wildcard used pretty frequently throughout the season so far. But which chip has been the least widely used among the top 500 in the global league?
Which chip has been used the least? Among the top 500, I mean, it's not No Negative, it's not Wildcard, it's not Limitless, because those have been used a lot. So it's one of the other 3. And I would actually imagine that it's maybe like 10-15% have popped their 3X already, just to like be at the top. So my guess is that it's either Autopilot or Final Fix. And how many people have used the Autopilot? Dude, Autopilot could be literally any number. I would have no idea. Okay, I know it's below 50%, but Autopilot could be literally any number. But I feel like there's not been that many good Final Fix opportunities either this year.
I think there's not been many for either of the 2 chips. So
no. I mean, Autopilot is better later in the year, right? So it's either Autopilot or Final Fix for sure. But I don't know which one. And this is a 50-50 that is going to determine whether I feel good points or not. I'm gonna guess that Final Fix is the least used.
Oh, so close. I'm like,
no, is it Autopilot?
It's Autopilot. No. It's a tough one. No. It's a tough one. So Autopilot is the least widely used at 4.2%, and Final Fix is 9.8% use. I don't even know where you would be using Final Fix. I'm trying to think. There was definitely a race where I think people were talking about it, but I don't think I even gave it any thought. Was there a grid penalty maybe recently?
Well, I was talking about it like leading into Silverstone as a potential option, or leading into the last couple of races, because we've had the budget to like stretch to a Norris or stretch to a Verstappen, because we've been using all of these super cheap B-tier drivers, like Hulkenberg, Alonso, the Haas boys, and then prior to that, like Liam Lawson, Hadjar. And sort of moved off of the Alex Albons and stuff. So I've been talking about Final Fix a lot. prepping my team for potential use of it, but after qualifying, I've not seen a use so far.
Yeah.
So it surprises me a bit because I do know a couple of people pop autopilot for Rein races.
Yeah. I almost did in Silverstone.
I mean, yeah, and F1 Fantasy Tools, like the F1 Fantasy Tools, they popped autopilot on their second team.
I guess it's got to be if you've got 2 premium drivers, that's kind of where you see the most upside if one goes in the wall. But
sure,
yeah.
I mean, they popped it and got the 2x on Hulkenberg. they had a really good one.
Yeah, true.
Well,
unlucky, mate.
2 out of 3, I'll take it because I mean I was close on some of them.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That Colapinto question was a tricky one
yeah.
with Liam Lawson, and this one was. I mean, I knew it was either of them two, but.
Well, you did well. I think one thing is for sure: these questions are not easy because no one scored higher than 3 before. So I don't think you should be too worried about that. But that will wrap up the quiz for the time being. But if you played along, let me know down in the comments below how you did. On that note, I think we might pack things in for today, Rein. Where can viewers find you? Where are you based? In terms of socials, of course. and yeah, what else could they look out for?
Yeah, I'm not going to give out my home address, but I'm based on Rein Fantasy on YouTube mostly, but also recently Rein Fantasy over on Twitch. So I'm live on YouTube and Twitch before at least so far this season, every deadline, and it's been going quite well. We've been having a lot of fun over those streams, but I'm also, of course, on Twitter, TikTok, and a bunch of other stuff. So just check me out on YouTube first, and you'll probably find your way to all the different places through there. So Rein Fantasy on YouTube is where you'll find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that again, mate. It's always been a pleasure chatting, and I know it's been a long time in the works, but glad we finally got to make it work. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the content. As I said, check out Rein's content. He's on for every single stream pretty much this season, and he's one of the greats in the F1 Fantasy community. So do follow and subscribe to his pages if you haven't done so already. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. As I said at the start, this is part of my guest interview series on the channel for 2025. If you enjoyed the content, please do drop a like on the video, subscribe to Formula Fantasy Hub. So much more interesting content coming up, and a couple of very special guests later this season to round out my guest interview series. So please do subscribe, show the channel some love during these quieter periods of time, and I will be back for my final thoughts for the Belgian Grand Prix closer to the deadline. So in the meantime, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you very soon.